guys, welcome to another whiskey review. My name is Andrew and I love everything about quality crafted whiskey. I love to think about it, love to talk about it, love to taste it, love to know how it's made. Just love it. Tonight, our whiskey review, we're going to take a look at Jack Daniel's single barrel proof Tennessee whiskey. I am not going to say a single word in this video about whether or not I think Tennessee whiskey and bourbon are the same thing. Don't want to talk about it. We're just going to focus on the whiskey. I promise I will only talk about Jack Daniel's as a distillery for a minute, and then we'll jump right into the tasting notes for this whiskey. This particular single barrel, remember, if you have a single barrel whiskey, each barrel will vary a little bit at least in aroma and flavor. They're going to be a little bit different. So, if you do not have the same exact barrel that I have, then your Jack Daniel's single barrel proof bottle may taste a little bit different. Each should be similar, but there will be variation with single barrel bottlings. This particular one is from Rick L23. It is barrel number 17-0595. It was bottled on January 31st of 2017. I got this bottle from K&L Wines out of California. So if you didn't get your bottle there, you are probably not going to have the same bottle as me. This is bottled at true barrel proof, no water added, at 65.6% alcohol by volume, which is 131.2 proof. All of Jack Daniel's whiskeys are distilled to about 140 proof. What makes them unique as Jack Daniel's whiskey and as a Tennessee whiskey is that they undergo what's commonly called the Lincoln County process, which is just a fancy word for an extended period of charcoal filtering, or as Jack Daniel's will call it, charcoal mellowing. What this means is that right after the whiskey is distilled, before it gets entered into barrels to be aged, it is basically gravity fed through about 10 feet of maple wood charcoal. Jack Daniel's makes their own charcoal with their own maple wood. They put it in huge vats. The new make spirit then trickles down through it. It takes about 3 to 5 days for the spirit to go from top to bottom. And after it has been charcoal mellowed in that way, then it is barreled. Then, from the barrel, in this case, it is poured straight into bottles. One note about Jack Daniel's, like I said, and then we'll go straight into the review, I promise. Jack Daniel's typically gets a bad rap amongst enthusiasts because of the old number 7, which, by the way, I believe has surpassed Johnnie Walker as the #1 selling whiskey in the entire world. Anything that popular kind of makes enthusiasts like you and I kind of push back. You know, it's too mainstream. It's too normal. It's too everyday. You know, we want to push against stuff that the uneducated, non-enthusiast like us thinks is awesome. It's just normal. It's not just whiskey enthusiast, it's an enthusiast of any kind. But Jack Daniel's Distillery should actually appeal to the modern enthusiasts. They make their very own barrels. They have their own coopers, their own cooperages, and literally they make all of their barrels by hand. They are super transparent about their entire whiskey making process, about their mash bill, which by the way is 80% corn, only 8% rye, and 12% barley. They really actually do things in a pretty craft way, besides bottling billions of gallons of 80 proof, not too decent, old number 7 a year to sell to the masses. But their higher up offerings like this single barrel should actually appeal to modern enthusiasts like you and I, in all honesty. Do a little research on Jack Daniel's as a distillery. It's a historical landmark itself. It will always have a part in U.S. history, not just in whiskey history. But let's go ahead and jump right into this now. This, like all of the single barrels, has no age statement. Although it does have, I don't usually like to comment on the color, but this whiskey has a gorgeous color. In fact, this whole presentation is gorgeous. I love it. Um, let's go ahead and jump right into the whiskey. Already past 5 minutes. Don't want to drag this out for you. We'll go ahead and we'll start with the nose. Initially, the nose is actually fairly spice heavy, which you wouldn't expect with such a low proportion of rye in the mash, but it's really spice heavy, fairly dry initially. Cinnamon, nutmeg, little wood spice, a nice dry but non-astringent oak layer in there. And kind of that signature Jack Daniel's banana note, although it doesn't come across as that artificial nasty banana in the more lower shelf offerings, but here it comes across as a nice banana bread note. Besides that, maybe a little bit of nuttiness, something like walnut, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of brown sugar. It's a nice, dense, and balanced nose, and it really is quite fantastic. For 131 proof, undiluted, I could nose this all day. Really no heat, which shows at least a level of quality and craftsmanship. That this is high quality spirit, a high quality cask which used to age this. The palate is really bold. The flavors are dark. It's got a really nice syrupy, heavy body. Up front, a nice layer of toasted oak, banana bread, creme brulee, really bordering on burnt, over caramelized for those sugars here on the palate. On the tail end and into the finish, it dries out a nice amount of wood spice, a really nice dry oak, some toasted grains into the finish. And as the finish lingers, as I'm talking, a nice note of apple skin. Apple skins, yeah, the skins of apples, apple peel, whatever, is really starting to come in. What I really like about the oak here, the wood spice, those kind of almost burnt, dry notes, is that it never gets astringent, excuse me. It never gets tannic, it never gets bitter, and it never gets that kind of industrial wood varnishy note to it, which doesn't always taste bad, but it really maintains a nice kind of pure oakiness here. Some whiskeys will verge into tasting like pencil shavings. Other whiskeys will verge into tasting like wood varnish or like furniture polish. This really just honestly tastes like as simple and pure of oak as you can get. Overall, I really like this whiskey. I think it's balanced. I think the flavors are dense and bold, and just plain good. Everything works well together. Those bready banana notes, the slight nuttiness, the dark, almost burnt sweets, and the nice dry oak and spice really make a well-rounded whiskey. And same as the nose, when I taste it, undiluted, there's really no heat. There's a little bit of entry burn, and it kind of just simmers like a low prickle on your tongue, but it doesn't take away from the flavor. It doesn't make your eyes water. I can't state how impressive that is. In a non-age stated whiskey, my guess is that this is less than 8 years old, just off of information that I've acquired, but it tastes much older than that. I'm going to give this a 92 out of 100 on a true 100-point scale, where 55 is average, 70 to 79 is solid, 80 to 89 is excellent. Crossing 90 is not easy to do. That is reserved for what I would call truly exceptional whiskeys, and I really do think that this particular bottle of Jack Daniel's single barrel proof is an exceptional whiskey. Remember, your bottle, if it is not from the exact same barrel as mine, is not going to taste exactly like this. I have heard that there can be quite a bit of variation in the bottles. Nonetheless, I wouldn't let that stop you from seeking out a bottle. Especially, I think this bottle really only cost me $64 maybe, which for what this is, a single barrel proof, that's right in line with its peers, maybe even a little cheaper than quite a few of them. I think it's a good value whiskey as well. And when something tastes as excellent as this does, and it has value on top of it, I mean, it's a no-lose situation. So seek this out, give it a try, let me know what you think. We'll be back with more reviews on the WBSE page here. Get plugged into the Facebook community, Whiskey, Bourbon, and Scotch Enthusiasts, if you want to have more community to chat more about these things. Get on to whiskeyenthusiast.com for more reviews besides what we do on video here, for articles, more information in general. Other than that, guys, have a great night. Cheers.